Good afternoon and welcome to Sepang, the second round of the Formula SimRacing World Championship in season 2025. It's been 3 long years since we visited Malaysia and the Sepang circuit for this championship. Last time we were here, Dennis Jordan took a victory on a 2-stop strategy that got him home 7.5 seconds quicker than his Oracle Red Bull Racing eSports teammate Alex Siebel in a 1-2 for them that afternoon after about an hour and a half of racing. This time round, it is a new field of drivers though. As we mentioned from the first round of the World Championship, in case you weren't with us, it is an entirely new look FSR World Championship this time around. And at Bahrain, it was Mark Schluter who was able to take the victory on that particular occasion. My name is Ewan. This time round, I'm alongside Amir Oates as well as David O'Reilly for this round of the championship. Good to be alongside you, Amir, for this one. Actually, it's a new look World Championship in 2025, but it's the same great schedule and still got a very, very long way to go in front of us this season. Malaysia, though, is a place very much worth visiting, and I'm very much looking forward to coming here for the first time, as I say, in 3 years in this championship.
Indeed, talking about a track that is loved by fans and drivers alike. Even this championship itself has visited this track 19 times, and Sepang International Circuit provides a challenge unlike any other. Notorious for being a Tilkodrome, it's one of the first ones that was constructed in 1999, and as such has been notorious for being so wide. In fact, it is so wide, it's extremely hard to defend, which means that qualifying here, while it is still very important, means not too much, because we have seen lots of overtakes here through the history of FSR, and I'm sure with what we've seen with the exciting action over in Bahrain, that excitement is looking to continue here.
And qualifying is just underway at the moment. We'll keep an eye on the times. But David, good to be alongside you as well and bring you in for this one. A great circuit to visit. I've got to say, I really enjoy Sepang, but it's been three very long years since we've been in here.
Yeah, fascinating circuit, and I think full credit to Herman Tilke. I think this was his first blank sheet of paper circuit, and I think it stood the test of time pretty well. 25 years, it's hard to believe it's that long. And it's an interesting test for the drivers setup-wise. Those long, tempting straights to have low wing, but really easy to cook your tyres. Very, very hard on tyres. So some of the drivers might urge for a little bit more wing, as much for tyre preservation as for raw pace. So it's going to be a very, very interesting race to see how it pans out with strategy.
Yeah, we'll get to strategy when they're warming up for the race in a few minutes' time. But for now, we bring towards the end of qualifying. Just before we do, though, let's just have a quick chat about Bahrain and the opening round of the season. Championship points are only based on the result from Bahrain, as you might expect. Mark Schluter at the top of them by 4 points instead of Jeffrey Fournier. Then Tom Oldermenger, who managed to get a very nice podium indeed. Patrick Hanko was inside the top 5 with Giuseppe Saracino, who this weekend has been doing a 24-hour race, so he's going to be a little bit tired. Zoltzuk is in 6th position, a further 2 points back, and then 1 point back all the way down. Sander Callas, who was surprisingly down in 7th, although he's going well in this qualifying session. Christian Pascal, Mikel Leroux, and George Zalagianis rounding out the top 10. The other 5 finishers were Mirko Mancini, Cam Roger, Jesse Lettinen, Peter Knapp, and Lucas Vishkot, who round out the field, who finished. Ruben Machede was the only retirement, but he's going well in this qualifying session at the moment. Amir, very anonymous a few weeks ago, actually, from Sander Callas. Unusual to see him down in 7th place. This is a lot more what like you expect to see from him up on the top of this qualifying session for the moment.
Actually, as soon as you just said that, Schluter has gone up and taken some provisional pole position. The current championship leader knows he's got his foot on the pedal, and he has got that championship lead. The question is how much he can. He's gotten a little bit lucky because Machede definitely was his prime contender in Bahrain up until that retirement. And Optimal has shown back in Bahrain to be really strong in qualifying. In fact, the top 3 were held by all of the team in Optimal. So they're going to try and see if they can maybe get there. But Schluter, absolutely incredible there with the pole position as it stands, and Callas as well from 7th. He's just showing his statement.
And there you go, Zoltzuk's over the line into the top. So I'm not going to say who's on pole because it seems to change every time I say it. But there you go, 2 changes of pole position in the last couple of moments. 45 thousandths off at the moment for Schluter, and Machede only a 10th and a half or so away as he jumps up ahead of Sander Callas. Now, in terms of those who are improving lap times, they are relatively few and far between. This is Peter Knapp, though, in 15th position. Couple of personal bests for Peter at the moment. currently down in 15th position, just ahead of sort of George Zardianis. In 16th, there goes Knapp. He will improve to 13th, though he's only 1.1 seconds off of the pole. There's Sander Callas. I think he's on an outlap at the moment, but we'll keep an eye on him because with 2.5 minutes to go, he's still got a chance here. And based on the lap times that we've seen so far, based on how close it is, I reckon that this pole position time is going to change quite a few times before these 2.5 minutes are finished.
Absolutely, it's going to be really hard as well with the track as well, slightly starting to warm up as well. It means it will be in even more optimal condition as well, so we can definitely see lap times gain faster though, with Schluter as well only being 400ths off from Zuch's time. There's definitely room for improvement, and the championship leader may be looking to score his first pole position, but Optimal, I'm definitely knowing their team, they'll want to continue that pole position streak up alive from what Machete has done back in Bahrain.
Absolutely. We will yeah, keep an eye on how different it is to Bahrain, because as you say, Machete took the pole, Fournier was alongside, but Jeffrey Fournier isn't here today. I don't know if he notified us of that actually, or not, but I don't think he did. So yeah, he's second. He's second. Oh, he is, yeah, sorry. Wow, that's good eyesight from me there. So he's, well, not on the front row anyway for the moment. Zolcic was third in Bahrain, just under a tenth away from pole. Mark Suter was fourth and eventually ended up winning the race. But you get the feeling that qualifying is going to be rather important for this race. Sander Callas, the first of the big names to go out there, but so far Amir not improving, and that's not great news in the relatively short first sector. He needs to now take some time in the middle.
With all the curves as well, it needs to try and get it as much as he possibly can, although with being out of the line it's going to put detrimental to his tires as well, so and he's only got just a few seconds to go, so if this is going to be really bad, I'm not entirely sure if you have enough time to set another quick lap time. Callas might be falling off here.
Is he going to be quick enough here? It's personal best middle sector, but is that good enough just for the moment as he now makes his way into the famous final corner, turn 15 on this racetrack. It's going to be a very important one for overtaking late on this afternoon. Over the line for Callas. What is the lap time going to be for Sander Callas? It is not quick enough. Sander Callas is not going to take pole position here, despite holding that early on. Zooks is looking favourite right now as the seconds tick away. He's got a personal best in the first sector. He'll be the first of the top three to cross the line here in about 1 minute's time.
It's gone already fast. In fact, Ruben Machete's also even gone faster. He's 1,000ths faster than his teammate up ahead, so could be a optimal front row, unless we can see Schluter pulling up an upset. And actually, Schluter's gone fastest for the second sector.
Wow, this is purple sectors flying all over the place now. Not from some of the drivers you might expect. Mercedes finished for the session, so that's the end of him. Optimino not going to get there 1-2. He must have made a mistake somewhere after that good first sector. He's now fallen by the wayside. Suter with 2 personal bests, but Zooks with a overall best in the second sector. That might just push him on enough here for the pole position as he works his way now down into the final corner. Can he maybe push that to a low 29 here to take pole here for the Malaysian Grand Prix? Zogzuks makes his way over the line now, and where's he going to be? It's not a low 29, but it is an improvement. 29.5. Now then, can Mark Schluter go any quicker? He's going personally quicker than he did before, but is it an overall best, which is what he needs right now? Zooks was only able to go overall best in the second sector. Can Schluter overhaul that in the final one? He can! He can! 72 thousandths of a second quicker. Mark Schluter, championship leader, race 1 winner, is also going to be pole sitter here at Sepang.
Incredible, 700ths faster than Such. We thought that Such absolutely had it, but that stormer of a third final sector allowed for Schluter to go ahead and get pole position, and the first ever this season.
Great job from Mark Schluter. What a session again, David. I remember from Bahrain we had a very good qualifying session. Mark Schluter, though, has snatched pole position there, and boy, is he in a good situation at the start of this season. There are the just before we get to that, there are the results. Schluter takes pole from Zooks by 7 hundredths of a second. Ruben Machete will start third, ahead of Sander Callas with Isvan Zinel in 5th place, ahead of Jeffrey Fournier to make it 4 optimals in the top 6. Then it's Mirko Mancini, Patrick Hanko, George Zardianis and Tom Olemenga to round out the top 10. I'll let the rest cycle through on your screen. But what a session, what an end to the session that was, David.
mega close between those two drivers, very, very strong drivers. And Zoltan Zux was very clever with tyre strategy. If you think back to Bahrain, he grabbed those mediums, what we thought was a bit early, to put in some really quick laps and jumped a few places. So very clever on tyre strategy. The other guy worth mentioning is Istvan Singal, who's qualified in fifth place. He was the race winner just earlier today in the Pro division. So he's made a fantastic account of himself for his first drive in World Championship.
Absolutely. He's been up there in the overall championship of Academy a couple of years ago as well. He'll be one to watch for sure from fifth position. We'll just be into the little warm-up session, the little break between qualifying and the race here in the next couple of moments. But in the meantime, while we're waiting for the race and the formation lap to start, which it will in about 5 minutes' time, we'll have a couple of messages from our sponsors before we return with the 56 laps of the Malaysian Grand Prix. Apologies for that. Seems we've had a couple of technical problems with that, but either way, yeah, a big thanks to. I should take this moment probably to say a big thanks to everyone behind the scenes who makes these broadcasts and indeed these races, the former SimRacing World Championship and the Pro Championship, happened a little bit earlier on possible. We are just in warm-up at the moment, just a minute or so to go before we get into the race. Formation lap, and we'll talk a little bit about strategy then as well. But there's a reminder of the qualifying order on the top 10 at least. Mark Schulter taking the pole position by 700ths of a second from Zolt Zux. It's worth noting as well, and Ed points this out in the YouTube chat, that Callas has done a lot of driving at the 24 hours of at a 24 hours of Le Mans race this weekend, and I think maybe one or two others in this race have done at least a bit of driving in that one, Amir. That's certainly going to take away some mental energy, some maybe physical energy as well, if they've had a long night doing that race before their Sunday evening.
It can really work both ways, actually, to be honest, because sometimes if you've done already racing events before, maybe you can be stuck inside that same mindset come for the World Championship here in Sepang. But as you mentioned before, sometimes whenever you've done a very long endurance race as well, it can impact your mindset and just slow you a little bit down. But again, the fact that Callas is over in fourth position, very phenomenal. The highest of the ground effect SimRacing team cars just proves that he's been absolutely phenomenal here.
Yeah, we'll see how it has, how much of an effect it has on the drivers throughout, as time has now elapsed in this warm-up session. It's a pretty sunny day in the warm-up anyway. We'll see what it gets to in the race, but sort of mid-30s track temperature for these guys in this session. Again, we'll see whether it stays the same throughout the race. What do you think we're expecting in terms of strategy here, David, and how much the track temperature, that track temperature I just spoke of there, might indeed affect the strategy they might take on as well?
Well, I don't think we'll see the soft tyre used. This track has been absolutely nuking tyres, and the softs go off a bit like a quali tyre. So I think it's going to be hards and mediums. And in the pro race, most of the guys managed to get by with a two-stop, but I think, you know, we're running 10 laps longer here. I think we might even see one or two people try for a three-stop. It's very hard to keep the tyres alive.
Yep, it's something that people tried last time we were here, actually. Jan Vosdika got to fifth place, for example, got a top 5 with a three-stop, although from previous years, because the car's not the same, the tyre's not the same, it's very different. It's difficult to compare year to year. I think we can now see a couple of messages from our sponsors, and as I say, on the other side, we'll be here with the Malaysian Grand Prix.
The SimRacers Performance Guide, your guide to race setup, strategy, driver performance. Dive in deep, learn about suspension, aero, braking, drivetrain, the 77-page manual packed full of hours of video tutorials as well. Learn how to fully engineer your setup and get more from your sim. Written and tested by real-world racing drivers, proven in Understand and optimize it all with the SimRacers Performance Guide. Quote FSR for a 20% discount off the normal €10 price.
Again, a big thanks to all the sponsors who make the Formula SimRacing World Championship possible here in 2025. Back again for another 8-round season, running this time all the way round to the middle of December. The Mexican Grand Prix will play host to our finale, another place we've not been for a very long time. In fact, we've gone, or are going, to a lot of places in the next few rounds that we haven't been to in the recent past, like the Mexican Grand Prix, as I say. The Singapore Grand Prix as well will be round 7 in the middle of October. We're also going to have a trip to Austria as well, which I don't think we've had for a while, in the early summer. So, later summer, I should say. We're in early summer. So, yes, it's a busy calendar, but a calendar of relatively new tracks compared to the previous year's previous calendars, which is a good thing. The drivers are now just pulling up to the starting grid, and they'll be off on the formation lap rather shortly, and we'll be able to see what tyres they've actually chosen when they actually get going. Don't trust too much about what you see on the left-hand side just for the moment. That can change as they're off on their formation lap, which they're about to all do here. But all focus is going to start to go here, Amir, to that first corner. It's a historic racetrack and a great racetrack, I think, as well. But it's true also that turn 1 and 2 here definitely do provide their problems, can do anyway, if everybody's not careful down into that first section.
One of the few corner complexes actually leading up to turn 1 and 2 that's almost unlike any other. In fact, the one that sort of comes close is another Tilke design track in Shanghai, but that's more so tighter. This is long, winding, and you know, it's one of the easiest corners, I think, in this track to defend, but it's also, if you'll be able to attack and go side by side, then you offer a good overtaking opportunity for turn 4.
But there's just another roll through of the starting grid, by the way, the qualifying results, and therefore the starting grid for this Malaysian Grand Prix. Mark Schluter on the pole. All of the top 10 covered by less than a second. Schluter won the opening round at Bahrain. Fournier was second that day. He's qualified in 6th place. And Tom Olamenga was 3rd that day. He's inside the top 10, but he made it quite a lot of places at Bahrain as well. And there are the championship standings indeed. You can compare and contrast. Don't have a couple of those who finished well in the first race, really up towards the front in this session just for the moment. But as I say, things can change rather a lot from qualifying into the race as these guys now get into the middle sector and towards the end of their lap. I think one of the big questions here, David, is going to be about who can stay with Mark Schluter, if anybody, because early on in the Bahrain Grand Prix we saw a lot of exchanging for the lead. You know, it's relatively close in the first stint, but second and third stint, especially late on, Mark Schluter dominated really at Bahrain. It's going to be a big thing for this season to see who can stay with him at this circuit as well.
Yeah, he was immense in Bahrain, very, very strong. It's going to be really good to see Reuven Meshidi have the chance to duke it out with him for the whole race. It was just tragic when he had his electrical problems and disconnection problems last time out. I'm looking at the live timing here within the sim, and it's showing the top 3 guys on hards, Sander Callis on mediums, and then Single on hard. So, but as you said, the game's a bit deceptive. Maybe it's a built-in feature to stop people jumping on the grid late and having figured out other people's tyre strategy. But yeah, if they can stick with Schluter, they're doing very, very well, and we'll see what happens.
Yeah, we certainly will, as they now get towards the starting grid, and then the race soon will be underway. There goes Schluter, just pulling up to his mark, just on that start-finish line. Takes his first pole position of the season at this time around. His first ever pole position in the World Championship. He did do the entirety of the 2023 season, but this has been the best start to a season so far for him. He's on pole here for the Malaysian Grand Prix, the second round of the Formula Sim Racing World Championship in 2025. It's the Malaysian Grand Prix for the first time in 3 years. We are racing in Sepang, and Mark Suter is going to be immediately under pressure here from Oates, who's got up to a good start here. Machedi and Callis also side by side on the way down towards turn 1. Callis through the middle, trying to make it free wide, and does. Full second place, but Mark Suter continues on in the lead through turn 1. A good holding of the lead, in fact. Into 2, it's going to be Machedi second, then Oates, then Sander Callis out the other side, with Jeffrey Fournier completing the top 5. A clean start, it looks like, all round. But what can Callis do here? Down in towards turn number 4. Outside line he's looking for, but I don't think he's quite going to get, as Oates holds him off. Clean start all round, Amir, from that first section of corners.
A lot of people try to make the move for the outside of turn 1, but because it's from the start-finish line, they didn't have enough speed to carry through to turn 2. But Machedi overtaking Such for second is going to be very good, and now he's going to be all over the back of Schluter to try and challenge for that win.
Down towards the hairpin in this middle sector they go. The real concertina effect down here. George Giannis we just focus in on there. He's got to 8th place. Finished the first race of the season in the top 10, 10th position at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Looking to repeat the top 10 this time round for the Ground Effect Sim Racing team, who of course are paired with Sander Callis, as you can see. 24th place after the opening round of the season in the constructors' standings. There's Mark Suter though. It's a good start from him here, Amir. He's managed to hold on to the lead at least. Not got away from the rest of the field yet, but it's only at the end of lap number 1. He'll just be pleased he's got the lead of this race.
He's trying to pull away as much as he possibly can in front of the hard runners, but looking for Callis and Fournier though. Fournier's got up a position because he did start on the mediums compared to Hanko, and for them they're going to try and make up the field as much as they possibly can. The problem is, as David has mentioned, these are quite tire killers in the early stages, so they have only got such a limited amount of time before they start to fall off compared to the hards.
And look at the track temperature as well, 53 degrees. Down on the track. That's way hotter than what we saw in warm-up. The ambient temperature at 31. It can get very, very hot in this part of the world, and we're certainly seeing that here, David. How much is that going to affect in terms of strategy? Is that maybe going to edge people over towards going for a 3-stop this afternoon, seeing 53 degrees down on the track?
Well, you would think so, particularly if they want to use the mediums more than once. But I'm always amazed when I get out and practice and try and do some laps. I'm always amazed at how much longer these top drivers can make the tyres last than I can. So, yeah, they always surprise me how long they can run, but I'll be surprised if 1 or 2 people don't try a 3-stop.
Well, we've got 4 medium tyre runners at the moment. Sander Callis and Jeffrey Fournier from the top 5 have both tried it, and the teammates Tom Oldemanga and Mirko Mancini have both gone for it as well. They've driven for Vega Valley eSports here this season. Both of them took their best ever FSR World Championship results at the Bahrain Grand Prix a few weeks ago, and they're looking to make some progress earlier on, but so far there doesn't seem to be too much of a difference in terms of compound. If anything, Callis seems to be the one losing speed compared to the 3 hard tyre runners in front of him at the moment. I mean, it doesn't seem to me to look like he's on a softer compound than those in front of him.
No, absolutely not. In fact, it's probably because the dirty air that's been generated up ahead, because it is such a twisty track, Sepang, more so than others. And yeah, for California, it's not very good news. If they're failing to try and catch up to such a machete up ahead, then that means that their advantage is more or less gone. But from the positions that they're in, I'm not entirely sure if a two-stop here is even viable.
Now let's see. We'll know a lot more at the sort of quarter way mark through this race. How long is it going to take for everybody to come into the pit lane? If we see pit stops on lap 14 or so, then I think we're going to know the score at the end of that one. As we continue to follow Jeffrey Fournier here. He's got Patrick Hanko just in behind him at the moment. Hanko was fourth place finisher at the Bahrain Grand Prix, currently running in 6th to begin this Malaysian Grand Prix as they now come into the very, very long right-hander, turn 13, 14. I think probably one of the most iconic corners on this circuit, Amir, just because it's so difficult, that long right-hander.
There's a lot of corners actually that are rather difficult. Yeah, turn 5 and then 13 through to 14. It's a track that has all the amount of surprise and difficulties, so I would say every corner is unique, don't you think?
Well, it is around here as Machete goes for the lead. He was quite a long way back and towards turn number 1, but he has a look anyway at Mark Schluter, who has to give him some space, and does so. Now then, will Machete go for the exit here? Oh, very nearly hit by his teammate, Zoltzuks there, who was riding close behind. This is going to be closer towards turn 4, and surely Ruben Machete's going to, he's going to have the lead here. He nearly ran into the back there of Schluter in towards turn 4, but no, Schluter keeps the lead. That's the first big challenge to his lead as well. And again, we saw this at the early part in Bahrain here, Amir, but we're seeing it again now in Malaysia. This lead of Mark Schluter is coming under pressure, at least early on.
See from the defensive line as well, just how much time that is lost. And now Such is now over the back of Machete, both of them to the same Optimal eSports teammates. So if they can both have goes in Schluter by chance, but again, every attack that Machete doesn't do, it's going to detriment his tires, and it's going to set him off on the back foot. So he needs to be very selective on terms of when to attack through to turn 1.
Yeah,
Sector 1 featured a big battle between Callis and Fournier as well. They've resumed their original positions, but Fournier got past him a couple of times. So the two medium shot runners are really duking it out.
Yeah, they were side by side quite a lot actually into that first sector, just while we were watching the battle for the lead. But there's the two DRS straights. There's the first one of them anyway, down the back straight on the way towards turn 15. And then you get onto the front straight here, that big run down towards turn 1. I don't think Machete is quite as close this time round, although he really gains speed and time at the end of the straight. Couldn't quite get close enough that time around. There is Callis just in front of Jeffrey Fournier, then Hanko, and then Zingel in the 7th position as well. Optimal with all 4 of their cars inside the top 7 as things stand. But Callis certainly under pressure here, Amir. It looks like the medium tyres just not the ones to be on at the moment.
No, they're not. They're still continuing to fade as well. You can see with Callis and Such, still pulling back even further. What was down to 1.2 is still slowly gaining, so it's not going to be very good for Callis and Fournier. And the more that they fight, again, the tyre health is going to continue to deplete, and then that will allow for Hanko and Sinjel to join in along that fight.
It's a bit of discussion in the YouTube chat about the temperature for the mediums. It gets way too high for them to really be any sort of use. Callis has now actually caught up to Zooks now, so maybe he's got a bit of control over that. There he is. You can see him very much a part of this group now, but I'm not sure that's going to last too long, really. We're only 5 laps in and already tyre concerns. In the background, that was Zingel, I think, getting quite close to Hanko on the way out of the right-hander, but no chance down towards the hairpin. And just behind them, Zalagianis and Tom Oldermenger were weaving around a little bit. And pit lane, wow, that's a very early stop, I think, for Isaac Zingel on the hard tyres. Now, what is he doing in pit lane after only 5 laps here, David? That seems very brave to me.
I can't explain that. Absolute mystery. I'm riding on board. I'll tell you what tyres he puts on, unless this looks like it might be a drive-through. He has not pulled into a pit box. I think he's been given a drive-through.
Yeah, that would be the only thing you can imagine. There you go, he's already out the pit lane. He drops to 16th, so it is a drive-through penalty. We saw the side-by-side on your screen there, by the way. Tom Oldermenga now past George Ardianis. Again, Oldermenga race pace does seem to be stronger than his qualifying pace, and that seems to be for the second round in a row that we're seeing that. 50 laps to go at the end of this one, only 6 complete, and so it would be very, very early to see a pit stop. That's why it was indeed a drive-through penalty for Isaac Zingle, who is now down into 16th position. There's a big noticeable break in the field here, I've got to say, Amir. The second group is being headed by Peter Knapp here in 9th place.
Yeah, I'm actually surprised as well. It's nearly going to be 5 seconds, as it seems to be just struggling just a little bit, and now under pressure from Mancini just behind. I wonder if we might see an overtake here, because he is applying a lot of pressure here coming through the second sector.
Can he keep Mirko Mancini behind him? What can Mancini do on those mediums? Don't forget, Oldermenga is also on the mediums. Both of the Valor drivers decided to go for that ploy. Just in behind, by the way, they've got one of the co-team drivers, Cedric Bill, who is a reserve driver here this season. Mikel Leroux is missing, by the way, today for that team. Meanwhile, teammate Mark Sluter under pressure again. First time for Ruben Mercedes again in towards turn 1. Close again, but again, Mark Sluter, like a replay really, he holds on to the lead through turn 1 and 2. Again, Zolcic get closer as Peter Knapp is now under pressure. That's Mancini around the outside, inside at turn 2. Oh, he very nearly spins though, trying to get through into 8th position, and it can't quite do it. Tom Oldermenga, meanwhile, is pitted just in front of them, and he's put the hard tyres on.
Very early pit stop there for Oldermenga, but it is a sign of how the mediums are coming to an end, and that's going to be bad news for Callas and for Fournier, that are still in that running, but it's starting to lose their advantage, and the things that they're staying in that grip is the infighting between Schluter and Machete going on.
Yeah,
and my graphic is showing Oldermenga took on mediums again.
Contact, sorry David, contact down in towards turn number 9. A massive bit of contact for Peter Knapp, who's been rear-ended by Mirko Mancini down into the hairpin. Mancini just looked like he got the braking all wrong there, down into that hairpin. It's somewhat surprising, actually. They've both got all their bodywork still attached, actually. It was a big hit between the two of them. Mancini completely missed his braking zone, completely rear-ended Peter Knapp, and they both dropped down the field. Mancini actually waited for him there for him to get back going again. In the meantime, Sluter has been caught by Machete again. Oh, he's going for the inside line, very close to the pit wall on the right-hand side here. Sepang down it to turn 1. He brakes later this time, does Ruben Machete, much later, and he does go through into the lead of this race.
Look how he gently parks on the apex as well, so that Schluter doesn't get a good exit out for turn 2, and that allows for result to put a pressure onto Schluter now and maybe try to make it up terminal 1-2. It's exactly what Machete's been looking for, and he's done it absolutely perfect down to a T.
There we go, first lead change of the day. Sorry to cut across you, David. You can continue on.
Well, don't you worry, the action is a bit more important than any theories that I might have, but Tom Oldermenga is on hards. The system has updated now, which makes me think that he just hated the mediums and just wanted to do the minimal number of laps he needed to do on the mediums before running on hards for the rest of the session.
Yeah. The question, I guess, is going to be, is it 2:25 lap stints on a hard tyre, or is it 3:17 lap stints, somewhere around that? We will find out when we continue on here, but pitted with about 50 laps to go. Is a very, very long way around here. What can Ruben Machete do now with the lead then? 48 laps to go at the end of this one, and so only 8 completed on these hard tyres. Mark Sluter still very much in the DRS and in the slipstream here, and Sander Callas very much still hanging about as well, even though Jeffrey Fournier seems to be dropping away on the mediums now. Callas is almost getting stronger. Zooks now wants to put 2 over Mark Sluter, does he? As Machete weaves around a little bit. Know that when they get side by side here, these two, that Sluter's not going to be the one who gets the slipstream. Here comes Zooks, looks down the inside, not quite able to make it. Sluter was quite late on the brakes, actually on the outside line himself there, and he keeps in second place.
See there with Machete just how much he's trying to resist Such to make that overtake on Schluter. Again going slow for turn 1, trying to bring those two as close as they possibly can, because he knows that Such will have with that slipstream along with that DRS that Schluter has as well. So that's very good teamwork, I must say. but I think I'm not entirely sure if that's going to be in any advantage, because as you mentioned before, Callis is getting a bit faster now on those mediums.
He does seem to be gaining some speed somehow. This is another one of the Go Team drivers. This is Nanda Marsa, who is also a debutant in the World Championship. As I mentioned earlier, I was trying to mention Mikel Leroux is absent from this race. Was one of our top 10 finishers at the Bahrain Grand Prix, but won't be here this time around, unfortunately. A team with good representation, though, with 5 cars across the field, right the way down to Peter Knapp, who's down in 13th. Now, one of the other medium tyre runners, by the way, Mirko Mancini, has also pitted into pit lane now. He drops into 16th. So loads of those on the mediums seem to be hating it, as he said, David, but Sander Callis seems to be getting on okay.
Yeah, out of curiosity, I've just been riding on board with Sander Callis, looking at his telemetry for half a lap or so, and he's being very, very accurate with his throttle inputs and brake and steering inputs. I think he's really managing these tyres very, very carefully, and I don't think he's really put too much energy into them yet, and just managing them very cleverly over the stint.
It seems that once you lose the temperature, or rather it goes too high, then it's difficult to get back again. So if you just start out carefully, then you might be able to, you might have a chance. But Sander Callis is doing a good job in 4th position at the moment in terms of managing these tyres and actually running up with the leaders. Top 5 covered by 2.5 seconds at the moment. I mean, it's very encouraging after 10 laps of the Malaysian Grand Prix.
Still is, and it means that we're probably going to see a couple more laps of exciting racing here. Callis, we know, is going to need to pit earlier than these, but potentially can put to use of a new, fresh, hard compound to maybe try and even gain positions here if he's not going to get it here on track. But the fact that he's still applying pressure onto the cars up ahead is still very good for Callis, and I think he'll still be very proud of that.
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good start to the race for Sander Callis. Don't forget that other guys are going to have to use other compounds as well here. It's not all going to be on the hard tyres, so going to have to try and think about that at some point, as now the weaving around begins again, because Ruben Mercedes not had a very good middle sector hit, and Mark Suter is right in behind him. Not close enough, though, for a move into the final corner, or rather he doesn't want to make a move through that final corner, because it only means you're going to be overtaken on the next straight. Good exit this time from Mercedes. He's got the one that he got the one right that he needed to get right, and that might actually put Zooks in with a chance of getting past Sluter here. Will he dive at turn 1? Doesn't look like it, and again it stays as it is at the front of the field here, Amir, but it's not as if they are purposely not battling. They're probably racing out front at the moment.
Yeah, he's just trying to look for optimal, well, ironically, an optimal chance to try and overtake him, or at least go by side through turn 2, because he knows that if it's not going to be through turn 2, then turn 4 would probably be the next best opportunity that Zuch will have to try and get that second place. But Machete, credit to him, he's trying to do everything that he can to assist his teammate, but also by doing that he's funneling the crowd even closer, because now Hanko and Fournier in the back row are now joining in this fight as well.
Yeah, they're all catching up at the moment in this front group. Maybe they are all saving tyres together, but that doesn't really explain why they are extending a gap over the other 2/3 in the field, who are continuing to get distance. Actually starting to become a problem for Tom Oldermenger. I guess the problem for that strategy, David, was always going to be Oldermenger finding himself in traffic, and after only a few laps on the hards, now he's having to overtake people.
Yes, I was curious about that, and what I was really curious about was what do we think the pit lane, what a pit stop delta is, and it can't be much more than 20 seconds around here, maybe 21 seconds. Tom Oldenmenger is 22 seconds behind the leader, so he's managing actually to get it working okay for him, so it's going to be really curious when the leaders stop to see where Tom filters out.
A change for the lead. Mark Sluter down the inside, but too deep. Oh, he had that on a plate, but he goes too deep into turn 1. And here comes Ruben Mercedes trying to come back again. He's not going to be able to get back through this time round. And so Mark Sluter will lead for the second time this afternoon. But, well, how is Ruben Mercedes going to take that into turn 4 now? He's on the outside line. Sluter later on the brakes this time again as well. Has he gone too deep here? No, he's nailed that. That was much better at turn number 4. Not too late, just right on the money there, and Mark Sluter retakes the lead here, Amir. This is going to be what looks like a good race between these two.
exactly what the overtake that's happened before between Schluter and Machete just a couple laps prior. Carried enough speed to make the move stick through turn 2, and Machete tried to look for the outside line through turn 4, or trying to look for a switchback, but Schluter probably knew and had a very good entry there to make it stick. So he holds on to the lead now, and as such, it's done very good for him. It's the second time, as you said, this race, and he'll be very happy with that.
And he's starting to extend that actually through this middle sector as well. You just wonder if he's been holding back so far, or whether he can unleash something here in the next few laps as we start to get towards 1/4 distance. By the way, 14 laps would be 1/4 distance in this race, and Sandy Callis getting this far is a pretty impressive job on those medium compound tyres. I wonder what he can do when he really lets loose a little bit later on some harder tyres. The harder the better around here, almost, it seems, with the tyres, because the track temperature and the surface and the track layout itself seems to be shredding them apart as they now come in towards turn 1 again. Schluter will hold the lead at this time, the first time he has had to do that since retaking it there on lap number 12. But 1/4 distance already, approaching here fast, Amir, and their eyes are going to start to look towards the pit lane soon.
Just see, though, with the tyre conservations that the leaders have to do, all of them have been more or less parking through turns 1 and 2. In fact, have got pretty slow first sectors. If it was Schluter that was up ahead, it would be a 10th or 2 slower than Machete, and if it was Machete that's leaded, then it would have been about 3 or 2 tenths slower in that first sector than Mark was. So again, it is showing that they are not only doing this strategically in order to bunch up the field a bit and apply pressure to second place, but it's also to do with tyre conservation, because they know that the hards are the most superior here in these conditions, so they want to prolong them as much as they possibly can.
Into again the middle sector, Machete struggling again, really 0.8 of a second behind Schluter. I just wonder whether they are going to maybe reverse themselves here, Zooks and Machete, or whether they just can't catch him at the moment. Neither of them. 0.8 of a second, and there goes the DRS. So Mark Schluter now out of DRS zone from Reuven Machete, and Sander Callis out of it from Zooks as well. I reckon Callis is going to be in here soon, and there he is. No, he's just on a different line. He's got Hanko in mind, because Hanko's just in the background. Jeffrey Fournier's in from those medium compound tyres, but surely Callis is going to be in here soon as well, because he's starting to struggle now. Patrick Hanko making one of the easier moves we're going to see this afternoon down the inside on that occasion.
Yeah, I agree with you, Ewan. I think that Callis has got to pit soon. I mean, a lap ago he was 1.4 seconds from the lead. He's now 3.2 seconds from the lead. So he's done a fantastic job on those mediums, but you would think, unless he's got some very clever strategy that we haven't thought of, you would think he's going to need to be in pit lane pretty soon.
You would think so. To us, at the start of this race, I thought the hard tyre runners wouldn't be that far away from coming in at this stage, but there you go. They will probably push themselves out a little bit further in this race this afternoon. It's certainly two types of tyre here, the medium tyre versus the hard tyre, and they are very, very different, especially in terms of durability, it seems, this afternoon. Machete's just brought this gap down a little bit here to Mark Schluter. We are going to cross 1/4 distance at the end of this lap here, Amir, but this is the first time I think Schluter's really started to impose some of his speed.
Yeah, you can imagine, though, being behind Machete and just being... I know it probably got to him in that first sector for just staying behind, and he's just trying to pull the gap as much as he possibly can, because unlike Machete, who tries to hold it up to allow a teammate to bring into battle, Schluter's pretty much effectively on his own. We've got another person coming into the pits. That's actually his teammate, Callis. No, Callis is heading into the pits, and he's one of the last of the medium runners. So the fact that he's done it for 15 laps is quite incredible.
He's the only medium runner now left, so he comes into the pit lane. Where did Fournier come out? There, he's 14th place. He's actually behind Tom Oldermenger, who might well be ahead of these guys. Maybe Oldermenger's going to lead some laps here in a few moments. Let's see, as Sander Callis makes his way out of the pit lane. Maybe that's a bit of an over-exaggeration, but there's the group, and there's what he could have done without. That was a big group that just flew itself past. Oh dear, and contact. Oldermenger's being ganged up on here by a couple of drivers in the lower part of the order. That's Single just in behind, and Biscott was all involved there as well. Callis gets out only just in front of Fournier. I think this is showing, David, the undercuts of real quite strong power.
Yeah, some very hairy action there for Tom Oldenmenger, which he could have done without. But Callis, Callis 2 seconds behind Oldenmenger, and Callis was running fourth. So, yeah, and Oldenmenger on 14 lap he pitted after 4 laps, so he's fresh tyres at 10 laps old.
He was still able to gain enough time though on those leads. If you just have to make an extra stop compared to them though, then it's not quite as smart as it looks just for the moment, as these guys make their way around the hairpin. I think they're going to have to accept the fact that they will lose the lead here at these leaders, but that's okay with them. They're running their own strategy. Here comes Ruben Mercedes. This time Suter defends early enough on the inside. The last time he lost the lead, it was Mercedes on the inside line. This time it's Mercedes on the outside. I've got to say, Amir, the straight line speed, the slipstream and the DRS looking frighteningly like a big difference actually when you get into that DRS zone.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, the overspeed allows Mercedes to make the move stick, and we've got another lead change onto the books. We've got our first hardwares into the pits with Fishcott now heading in, and we also, in the midst of that, have our first retirement in Knapp.
Yeah, not sure what's happened to him actually. There is Peter Knapp though. He doesn't seem to have any damage from what we can see there, so might just be some sort of technical. We saw that for Ruben Mercedes at the Bahrain Grand Prix, unfortunately. But yeah, that's a shame for Peter Knapp, who's out the race. We only had one retirement actually at Bahrain. That was Mercedes, so hopefully we can keep it down to just one retirement here as well. Top 15 score points in this series in FSR these days, and so that does mean everybody is more likely to get their points at the end of the day, if they indeed get to the finish line here today, which hopefully everybody does. There's Mercedes out onto the back straight, and he's got a decent advantage here. He's actually broken the DRS himself actually to Mark Schluter here, Amir. I think that's the first time Mercedes has been able to do that.
I think it's just about barely done it, but I'm not quite sure. I'll have to hold my breath to wait and see if he has fully done it. Actually, he really has, you're right. And that is really big. So that will allow for Mercedes to get a good advantage. And that means that if he doesn't park it too much close on the first sector, then he'll be able to hold that lead much longer.
I went back and had a look at Peter Knapp for you. He just looped it after turn 3, the tight complex after the hit straight, and just looped it around and front end into the Armco.
Okay, so that is how Peter Knapp's day ended. Ended early, unfortunately, for him this time round in this round of the World Championship. Finished 14th in Bahrain, by the way. So we'll end the day on 2 points as well on that in this race. Just a few retirements actually from the last time we did this race. Only got 16 to the line in 2022, the last time we were here for the Malaysian Grand Prix. So looks like we're going to have something similar here as Tom Oldenmenger gets into some real traffic here. You mentioned it earlier actually, David. The pit stop for Oldenmenger was so long ago. He's actually on quite some old tyres now, as shown by the fact Fournier and Callis have just gotten through on him.
Well, yes, indeed. 10-lap-old tyres, so well into that stint. So, and it didn't seem to yield him huge pace, maybe at the beginning. So let's see what he can come up with.
It's a long road back from here for him if he's losing time like that. This is Mercedes again on the way towards turn number 1. And keep the lead again as they start lap number 18. Getting to the feeling here that they might be able to two-stop it from here with these hard tyres that are looking pretty good for the moment here. Ever since Mercedes got through, I must say, Amir, it just seemed like this has just calmed down between the three leaders.
It has done for the time being, but again, it's just slower for the first sector, and then Schluter now, because back in the DRS train, has pulled through for the second and the third one to now get back into it and is, well, carrying such with them. But meanwhile, down for the back, though, it also has slowed down. Hanko is now 2.1 seconds away from Schluter, so now that has fallen back quite significantly. And Zalo Yanis is also just behind, so he's also been taking a bit of advantage of that ever since Callis and Fournier have both gone into the pits. It's
opened up now a little bit there with those guys coming into pit lane, but Still free, covered by a second at the very front of the field, which is what we came here to see. So now come through this very difficult right-hander again. Seems to be nailing it every time, by the way, through there at turn 13 and then turn 14. It's a super difficult late apex. You've got to try and grab there, and they seem to do it pretty well every single time. Now into the final hairpin. Michele will lead another lap onto the pit straight. He's looking good in the lead of this race at the moment, although Schluter's back in DRS zone, and so is Zooks. It's not going to be able to make a pass this time round, though, either. Definitely a bit of a holding pattern at the moment, Amir, between these three. We'll just see how long that lasts and see when they also decide to shake things up with some pit stops as well.
It's quite interesting as well. Sorry, go ahead, David.
Oh, sorry, I was just going to say, as you suggested, Ewan, I do think we're definitely, for these lead three drivers, definitely in two-stop territory, because they're, in a moment, they'll be up to nearly 20 laps on these hards. So if they can do that twice, they can certainly do 16 laps on the medium. So I think we're looking at the podium here, unless something really dramatic happens.
Amir?
Yeah, I think I honestly agree with you as well, David. But it's for Schluter to be in the midst of an optimal train, knowing that there's a car ahead that's going to try and do everything to make such get second place is going to be a bit nerve-wracking. So I'm not entirely sure if I'd reckon to see all of them pit at the same time. But if that will be the case, then how effective that we've seen from the undercut, I think it'll probably be the way to go. But of course, with the undercut means that you have to preserve your tires. And well, it depends on between which three of these drivers, if they ever do the undercut, which one can do it the best.
Yeah, absolutely. Even one lap might well make the big difference here, as Fournier and Callis have found themselves in more traffic, by the way. They're behind Letton and Bill now, as Zooks now come through on the right-hand side. This is exactly how Michele got past Schluter to take the lead first time round. Now he's trying to do it for second place. Here is Salt Zooks, but Schluter around the outside for the first part, gets in the inside at the second. He holds on to position, but how long is that going to go on for? Through turn 3, he's under big pressure again, and Zooks goes to the inside again. This time at turn number 4, but again late on the brakes from Schluter. He's been very impressive on the brakes so far this afternoon, and rather impressively actually there, Amir keeps that position as Callis and Fournier now make side-to-side contact.
Super close. Exit out from turn 3. You can just see Fournier being a little bit squabbly, and now with the slipstream in Callis' favour, is going to look for the outside for turn 4. Probably has to outbrake him in order to make this move even stick, and I think Fournier might do this to give him a little bit of a push. Oh, and into the grass. Oh, and he's on the grass. Callis is on the grass.
That was pretty aggressive, Jeffrey Fournier, and Sander Callis is forced onto the grass. Wonder what he's going to make of that, and maybe what the stewards are going to make of that as well, because that wasn't the biggest amount of space in the world given by Jeffrey Fournier through turn 4.
Well, apparently that corner was directly inspired by turn 3 at Spielberg Ring, and I think that move was probably inspired by something we've seen at turn 3 at Spielberg Ring in real life.
It was rather. It was very aggressive indeed, and I think Callis has a right to be a bit unhappy about that. Patrick Hanko, by the way, has come into pit lane from 4th, so that could really kick things off now with the leaders, who are bearing down in towards turn number 1. Schluter continues to hold this position in the middle of this sandwich with Optimino eSports either side of him at the moment. 2 cars on the podium so far for Optimino, who are currently second place in the constructors standings after Go Team Racing's successes at the Bahrain Grand Prix. There goes Hanko out the pit lane. Fournier and Callis here are definitively in front of him though.
Yeah, absolutely, but just keep an eye on Hanko though. He just needs to put in a good number of laps, and then if these three continue to fight, as we have seen pretty much throughout the entire race, could be seeing a new race leader. But yeah, that was really close there between Schuler and such. Almost got P2 away from Schuler, but very good defense from here through turn 2, and carries enough speed to just pull up ahead. So really excited so far. Only a lap 21 out of 56.
Yes, It's not even halfway just yet. We are just over the third distance now of this race. Now that Hanko is pitted in, though, here, David, I just wonder whether one of these three is going to react, because I think if they leave it longer than one lap, Hanko could well jump them both. And we already know Hanko behind Fournier and Callis, so they've already been jumped by a few drivers in this stint of the race.
Well, he's 27 seconds back from this fight, so I don't think they've got to watch him too much. In my view, it's with these guys, who's going to blink first, who's going to make a mistake first. And the biggest game of Russian roulette is the final pit stop. How brave are you going to be? How quickly will you undercut onto the mediums? So, but incredible driving. Look at these three guys now. The speed, the closeness, but the respectful driving, it's incredibly high standard.
Yeah, it really is between these three at the moment. Great racing again, wheel-to-wheel stuff between Zooks and Sluter, but Sluter's so late on the brakes into turn 4 again. He's able to keep that position. Fantastic driving from him to fend these drivers off. And when you are a driver in a sandwich like this, Amir, you've got two teammates either side of you. You feel like the walls are closing in on you very much, but he's dealing with it well as Oldemanger comes in for a second time today.
Must say to give credit to Michele, though, for doing everything they possibly can to help his teammate and assist him in any ways he can. Saw once again, he parked it through turn 1 and allowed such to go side by side with Schluter, but it wasn't quite close enough. Schluter late on the brakes to try and capitalize on it and makes it work. Although we see Schluter just going a little bit slow through the second sector, I think that might be his tires slowly fading because of that constant attacking and defending that he has to do from the cars between first and third. So I think he might be the first of the pit goers here.
Let's see if it's this time, maybe end of lap 22 when they start to blink. Different lines there. Was that an attempt of an overtake maybe from Zooks? It might well have been. Now he's side by side and he's going to get slipstream from his teammate here. It's going to be a 1-2 for Optimino at the end of this lap. Sluter knows it as well. He's got to give it up now, and Michele helps Zooks get the lead. Bit unorthodox there on Amir, because we've seen so many occasions you wait through that final corner to go for a turn number 1, but not that time round. He went for it out of the final corner, or into the final corner I should say, on that occasion. Maybe caught Sluter a little bit off guard.
Yeah, I saw with Mark struggling a little bit for the second and third sector. I mean, Zoltz just really tried to capitalize it, and he did so with good ease. Maybe a little bit opportunistic through the final turn, but it was enough to discombobulate Schluter a bit to go side by side and take second place away from him.
A change down for Zargianis, because he's into pit lane, by the way. So is Jeffrey Fournier now. It's a second stop already from Fournier, and we're still in the first half of the race, so it's going to be at least 3 stops for them by the looks of things. Oldemanger as well. We've already seen him in for a second time, but they're not going on far on those hard tyres, as these guys have been going on their hard since the start of the race, so I'm not entirely sure what the plan is there for those guys, but certainly the speed they're making up is not really enough to counterbalance the time they'd lose in the pit lane, as far as I can see for the moment. Let's see if it's any different this time round. 33 to go at the end of this one, and we're rapidly approaching half distance here on just the hard tyres alone into the final corner. What are they going to do now? And Zooks comes in. I suspect he might have been trying to come in last lap, actually, and that's how he ended up on that strange line alongside Schluter. But this time round, finally, David, lap 23, and Zooks has blinked.
Well, just quite incredible, really. 23 laps at this pace with these three guys. And look back to P4. Sander Callis is 18 seconds behind this group. Now, if Zoltan Zooks takes a similar approach to what he did in Bahrain, he might just put on some mediums and go like mad for 15 laps for the biggest undercut of all time, and then put some hards back on. That would make things very exciting.
And let's see if he decides to do that. He's gone for the hards for this stint by the looks of things, but he's going to have to use the mediums a little bit later on this afternoon as Tom Oldemanger gets in behind Marsa now. This will be an easy pass for 11th place by the looks of things, the Vega Valley eSports driver. Out the pit lane as well comes Sargianis, I think that was, who is now battling for 8th position in the race. Jeffrey Fournier also has retired, unfortunately, from this race, so he finished 2nd place in the opening round of the season at Bahrain, but he is out here in Malaysia in the first half of the race, down to 14. after Fournier retires, and that is a shame. Now, what do these two do here, Amir? Surely they've got to respond now to Zolt Zooks.
They really have to do it, I believe. So we have to see with Such and Kalas. They've both done the undercut now extraordinarily. But I think with Zolt, yeah, they're both going into the pits now. So it's a matter of time to see if that deficit closed down. I think we might be looking at new race leaders.
Yeah, well, the gap was between 19 and 20 seconds, I think, when they peeled off the pit lane. So it will be likely Zolt and Zooks take the lead at this point.
Don't forget about Kalas, who's in front of him, but he's coming down the straight. So Kalas is going to take the lead, and Mercedes is going to be out in front of Schluter by the looks of things, by a little bit of a distance, by a second or so. Zooks, though, is going to be in front there, Amir. That's a good depiction, really, for us of just how strong the undercut is. That's 2 seconds, even though he only did 1 lap there.
Yeah, absolutely, because after all, Kalas has also pitted quite a few laps earlier, so he's going to be on a little lower tyre health than Zolt is, let alone Reuven. So we're going to see them catch up as well. And with the assistance of the 2 DRS straights, it surely should be easy pickings for them both. But currently, as it stands, I think Zolt is now the new leader. Zolt is the leader.
Yeah, apologies. I forgot to take Sander Kalas into account, only because he pitted on lap 13. So I think he's definitely on a 3-stopper. So I think the effective race lead, as you've just called it, I think it's Zolt. But yeah, they're going to have to get past Sander Kalas, and he is a very experienced World Championship driver.
It's going to be difficult to get past, that's for sure. Here's Sander Kalas. And so that could be the problem here for Zooks, who's leading this race. And Optimino have done something just to pro Mark Suter off a little bit more compared to what we saw in Bahrain, where they pretty much did the same strategy across the board, and they got roundly beaten by Suter, who was quicker than everybody that day. They're trying to 1-2 him maybe a little bit with their teammates. We'll wait and see here. Mancini is on the defensive here because those hard tyres have been on for quite a while, and now he's doing some defending. From Bill down in towards turn number 15, and that will be through for the Go Team racing drivers. Giannis is just next in line as well. He'll surely be coming through. There you go. Mancini's not even using any energy really at all down on the way towards turn 1, but Giannis not quite close enough either, so it's going to stay as it is for the moment. These are the kind of battles that we're going to watch through the midpoint in the race. It's going to be the midfield, Amir, because the leaders have now spread apart a bit with strategy.
They have indeed spread apart, but I don't think it's going to be all yet and done. Look at here with Soto already in the back of Kalas. I think both of them are trying to eye for their first win, but as David said, I'm pretty sure that Kalas is definitely doing another stop into his books. I'm not quite sure what tire compound he will pick, because we have seen that the mediums are a little bit ineffective here. It's only really effective if you have a grip to follow behind, but considering that where he pit and he was relatively in clean air, I don't know if he's going to use it again.
The top temperature is just falling, by the way, but still 52 degrees out there on the circuit, as Sander Kalas is he going to be forced to give over the lead? Not quite. I think Zooks there was poking his nose out as if to say, are you going to let me through here, or am I going to have to work for this one? Well, the answer is he's definitely going to have to work for it, but not that hard. Zooks gets into the slipstream, into the DRS, and he roars past. Not a lot that Sander Kalas could really do about that. Amir, he's on the older tyres, and as we said before, the slipstream and DRS combination is very, very powerful down towards turn 1.
I think what Kalas did though was good. He just put in a little bit of a defensive action there for turn 16. Put just a tiny bit of spam that works for Zolt. But oh my goodness, Viscott has spun. And he's dropped a position to his true positions, including his teammate Yasse Latinum. And he's down to 12th.
Yeah, just a spin through the final corner for Viscott, who is now down to 12th position on those hard tyres at the moment, ahead of the only medium runner left actually in the race at the moment, Matt Tewson, who is getting his stint out of the way. There goes Mancini, pulls off to the side for Tom Oldermenger to go through. Don't really know if I can see where Tom Oldermenger's strategy really works out, because he made 2 pit stops in the first 20 laps. Just seem a little bit on the excessive side when you consider the amount of laps we've got in this race and what a long way it is in this race. A bit of a puzzling one, but you know, he's in the top 10. So who can begrudge him that at the moment? As we go back to Mercedes and Schluter, not gaining any time on Oates at the moment.
And I tell you what, I want to correct myself on Sander Callis, because I think he might have done 15 laps on those mediums, thinking back to his first stint. He did very, very well with longevity on the mediums. So he may potentially just have to stop one more time. He's only got to do 20 or 21 laps on each of the hards. And of course, as the car gets lighter and the track gets rubbered in, that gets easier to do. So perhaps he's indeed, he's on a two-stop, but on an alternative strategy two-stop.
Yeah, no, maybe it would still work, because he went so far on the mediums, and he's got some speed in the bank for a little bit later on as well, though not right now. This is not helping the other two, though. Mercedes and Schluter, if they keep battling like that, then we're going to have a very different race in our hands. But Tucson is now right in behind, it's just in front rather of Viscott. So that's Matt Tucson actually getting in front of Viscott. Just shows you, Amir, when you spin, the tyre's temperature is going to balloon, and it looks like Viscott's just struggling with that at the moment.
Not only that, but also the amount of tire health that's degraded in just a short space of time from that spin alone means that it's not going to be viable for whatever strategy that he was on, so he's going to have to look for something else. And for Mercedes and for Schluter to both be battling out means that they might lose the lead to Zolt if they continue like this as well. So I think Mercedes must be, you know, a little bit sad about that, but Callis, though, still in the chance within the lead fight here if he just has another pit stop in his books. But with them rapidly catching up to him, again, another span in the works for lead contention.
Absolutely. 3 seconds now, the actual gap itself. This is the battle for second place that Schluter's just sort of backing away from, really, in these moments. Mercedes goes straight through, though, on the inside on the way towards second place. We've got on up Timino 1-2 again, with Oates leading the way, 3 seconds now in front of Mercedes. Oh, that's the dive as well from Schluter. Tried to follow straight through. Sander Callis wasn't going to allow that to happen too quickly, and now Schluter's going to lose loads of time.
Some body language there from Sander Callis, I think, trying to express some thoughts to Mark Schluter. In the meantime, Zoltan Sukes, he's done the fastest lap of the race. He's on a 1:34 flat. He is 0.4 of a second quicker than his former competitors for the podium. They're both on a 34.4. So Zukes has got huge pace on this second set of hards.
He has coming out the gate, but can he continue that on through? This is what's killing Schluter, though. Callis goes a little bit wide again through turn 11. And yeah, this is absolutely killing him at the moment. So close behind on the way through that left-hander there, but no chances to get through until the end of the lap. That one mistake, Amir, into turn 2 could really cost him later on.
It actually really did. He could have been on the midst with Machete, but now he's done such a gap behind now and has got a lot of work to try and catch up back into Reuven. And again, using up the tire wear to do that, so he's going to be offset even more. Schluter, he at least has got a bit of the DRS and going to try and catch up a bit to Machete. But yeah, you really got to feel for the current championship leader.
Yeah, Mark Schluter, the race winner from the Bahrain Grand Prix, is now a bit behind where he needs to be in this Malaysian Grand Prix here, the second round of the championship. To remind you where they finished in the first one at sea, Zoltan was only 6th in Bahrain and Mercedes DNF'd. So if these are the guys who Schluter is going to be fighting for the championship here, he has already got a head start on them, if you like, Amir, and that must be a good feeling for Mark Schluter to not be too worried about that so early on in the season.
I think as well for Zolt and Reuven, both of them have not yet have won a World Championship race here in FSR, and Schluter already has back in Bahrain, and I think Callis himself, as experienced he is, I think he is due one as well, his best result being second. So everyone's so opportunistic here to try and garner their first win here in the Formula SimRacing World Championship.
Absolutely, that's one of the big targets for that's common across the field. There's Tom Oldermenger 7th place at the moment. He was one of those drivers on the podium at Bahrain. Again, raced quicker than he qualified on that day, and he's doing the same here, but unfortunately I think it's the pit strategy that's maybe going to be his undoing here this afternoon. It's hard to see really how his strategy works out. It probably does one more pit stop, maybe with about 20 laps to go or so, a little bit less than that probably, and then, although we're not that far away from that stage now, then he will keep those tyres on to the end, but that does feel like a quite a long way to go as well. This is Matt Tucson, just in behind Marsa for 11th place, so maybe Tucson is showing here, Amir, that the medium tyre is one that he can use at least for a few laps.
He definitely can, and trying to do it effectively, which Matt has been putting pretty good right here. As he's trying to look for the inside of Marsa, but now with the DRS going side by side, that's Fishcott going into the pits. But at least for Tucson now, with the DRS to his advantage, try to look down for the inside of turn 16 and scare Marsa just a little bit, means that he gets the lead through to turn 1, and it's exactly what Tucson needs to try and keep the mediums alive.
He's not going to be held up in that case by Marsa. Tucson's going to be through into 11th position. He seems to be flying away with that position as well. Track temperature continues to come down. It's a couple of degrees centigrade cooler than what it was at the start of the race, but I can't imagine that is really making much of a difference at the moment. It's far more down to Tucson's speed by the looks of things on the medium tyres. Maybe one of the more telling things actually is how old the tyres are, no matter what the compound is, because look at the demise here of Sander Callas. He's now in 8th position. He's in 4th position. He's 8 seconds behind the leader, though. That's a position he held not that long ago, Sander Callas. Lost 3 positions in a few laps, and all of a sudden he's now 8 seconds off of the lead here, David. It very much shows that game of chicken that we're going to see later on about who's going to pit latest or earliest or whatever in that final stop of the race.
Well, indeed, because if you pull the trigger too early on that undercut, you're going to be very, very vulnerable over the final 2 or 3 laps of the race. In terms of pace, before I was shouting from the rooftop that Zoltan Zux had gone a 34 dead. Well, Meshadi and Mark Schluter are both now into the very high 33, so they're on a 33.9, so they've got the hards working well for them now, but they've still got to find 2.5 seconds to catch up with the leader, so it's a game on and they've got their heads down.
And they're not together anymore, don't forget. Schluter took a little bit longer to get past Callas, and so that's cost him some time. He's no longer benefiting from the slipstream of Ruben Machedi. In fact, he is just trying to hang on to the coattails on, really. 2.5 seconds, though. Zux is still leading by, and he's looking relatively comfortable as well. This is single just ahead of Sergianis and Oldemanga, and Bill not too far behind either in this battle for 5th position. So another good group, but it's pretty clear, Amir, who the top 4 I think is going to be in this race. A pretty big gap there.
Yeah, Zoltan Zux's pace has just gone off a little bit. He's kind of a high 34 now, whereas Ruben Meshadi and Mark Schluter, they're both in the very sort of low to mid 34s, so might have just been a blip in his form. But yeah, we've very much got a race on our hands with 3 cars within 3.5 seconds, and still 23 laps to go.
Yeah, 2 temps. He just lost 2 temps in the first sector of this lap as well, did Zux. So this is not an outlier. This is very much the trend that we're starting to see here. And I wonder how far they are going to try and take these tyres as well now towards the latter portion of this race. Are they going to take them to just a few laps to go so they can reduce time on the mediums as much as possible? Are we going to see an undercut from one of them maybe? How are they going to navigate that all the way to the end of the race? I'm not entirely sure. But with 23 laps to go, we're getting into that window here where they're definitely going to be starting to think about that.
Yes, well, I was absolutely stunned when I think all of them did 22 laps or 23 laps on the hards, and that really, to me, looked like some people who were going to avoid the mediums as much as possible. So it would be a surprise if they pitted again before, say, well, let's say lap lap 40, 41, 42 even, which would leave them 14 laps on the medium, which I think would be perfect because you could push the medium relatively hard then, considering that Callis did 15 laps on the medium with full fuel and a relatively green track. But what would I know?
Yeah, I think
That's the advantages.
Go on.
It is the advantages of Optimal having 1 and 2 as well, because you can take both data, where Schluter's only just the only one up ahead, and he's effectively a driver on his own. So the fact that Such is on a bit worn medium hards up ahead, and Mercedes a bit more fresher, and he's got a deficit as well, means that he can defend Zolt just a little bit to try and keep him alive if they want to try and maintain a 1-2 here. Because we know that Callis is going to be going into the pits, and he's still a bit of a grey area to see how fast he can navigate through the traffic up ahead once he does pit. So it's just a matter to see how Optimal plays this strategically.
Yeah, you're right to point that out as well, because they can very much split their strategies, maybe decide one pitch before Schluter, one afterwards, see what happens there, try and get one of them at least to the race victory. Schluter very much on his own. His nearest teammate is in 8th place further down the field, which is Cedric Bill in that number 80 car, so in that reserve spot. So yeah, nobody to help him really, Mark Schluter, but it's all starting to compress together. 22 laps to go as they cross the line right now, and Zux is definitely being caught by Mercedes, and Schluter will see what the lap time is this time round. He's actually in the 35s now, is Roland Zux. At that time round, 8 attempts gained by Schluter, 6 by Mercedes, and so yeah, just even 1 lap earlier of a pit stop, and it seems to be affecting Schluter now at 15 laps or so into this stint.
Callis is into the pits now, so he was in a winning contention a few laps ago, so it's going to be interesting to see how he will progress through this field now. He needs to make it quick if he wants to have any chance of trying to get into a podium whisper. Just need to see how far he'll drop back. Over with Cedric Bell heading down through turn 1. Yeah, he'll need a lot to navigate through here.
They could have done without that as well, in towards turn number 1. Absolutely could have done without that. Now going to be stuck behind another driver for some time here. 22 laps on those hard tyres. I reckon we're going to see another situation here, David, where Callis actually gets into the lead when the other 3 pit. But the question obviously is going to be about whether he can hold on.
Yeah, he may just be slightly too far back for that, 33 seconds back. What I'm finding very intriguing is Schluter is now within 2 seconds of Zoltan Zux, and we saw how powerful that undercut was. And this time he'll be undercutting onto mediums. So Schluter might be tempted to just make a very, very ballsy move and jump on those mediums a couple of laps early to get that mega undercut.
There may be, but I still think we're slightly early for it. But I think that is going to be the situation when we get there. Not quite in DRS zone just yet, Mercedes, but there will be next time round. And Sucher's got to make sure he's in there as well to get the DRS. Callis now has got the DRS and is using it on Cedric Bill here in towards the final corner in that battle for 7th position. Is he quite close enough? Yes, he is. Into 7th place goes Sander Callis. I think this could be a decent call from Callis, to be honest. He's going to need a big undercut because, as you say, he's 34 seconds off the lead, which is not going to get you in front of them. But with 5, 6, 7 laps of an undercut, he could very much be there and can very much be in the lead, and he's going to have to try and sort of weather an early storm here, and he's going to have to try and get the other 3 to take the edge off their medium tyres while they're trying to overtake him, and then he can maybe push on and hope for the winning result, because he'll be on the hard tyres as he is right now, be on those hard tyres, and these guys will be on the mediums, and there may be a crossover point here where these guys' tyres actually get worse than his.
Yeah, that's actually a fairly good point to mention as well. But again, he needs to find that lightning in the bottle. If Sinjo and Ultimanger just continue to fight as they have done this lap, then it'll make that job all the more easier for him on the fresher tire compound. As now we see with Machete now all over the back of his teammate Zolt, and we'll also have Mark also right behind him now. It's in exactly the same position that we've seen before, except this time it's Zolt in the lead.
That's a bit of a weave around from Machete there. Not sure what that was all about as Zux is overtaken. Not sure whether that was a please let me through or don't worry about me or what that was, but Reuben Machete gets through. Not the best. Bit of braking down towards turn 1. They're on top of each other, basically through turn 2 there as Mark Schluter gets closer. He did his job in terms of getting the slipstream before these two got slipstream off each other, which could have allowed them both to get away from Schluter. That's not happened though. Schluter is now in there with them. We've got 3 for the lead, back together again.
Interesting there from Zoltz to fight with Reuben, but again, with that lower tire compound now, I think Schluter has now got the advantage to try and take second away from him. But now the question is Zolt going to fall back now because of this? Because those two are in a lap fresher tire compound.
Yeah, interesting to see how that one lap is making such a big difference, or at least it seems to be in this group for the lead at the moment. Let's see whether that continues to be the case though, as we head towards the final third of this race.
Now, if I was Mark Schluter's engineer, I'd be watching the gap to Reuben Mechdi in P1, which is currently 1.1 seconds. If that goes out beyond 1.5, I'd be boxing him within 2 laps and give him the challenge of 16 or 17 laps on the medium to bring it home, because that would definitely give him he would be in first place when all the pit stops wash out. So it's getting very, very exciting from an undercut point of view.
I think we saw Callis do about 16 laps, so that was wide, and now Schluter was alongside Schluter there just for a moment as he went wide through turn number 1. Maybe Schluter's now going to get in between the two Optimino cars, and that would be ideal for him. Now, can he get well, he's not going to get slipstream down towards turn 4, but he's been very good on the brakes here, not from the outside line though. Zooks this time is strong on the brakes and is able to keep that position, so that was a good bit of defensive driving from Zolt Zooks to stay in second place. But yeah, as I say, we're getting towards that 16 lap point now. What we've seen Sander Callis do earlier on the medium compound tyres, not sure how much he was saving throughout those 16 laps in fairness, but even so, did a good job with them. Maybe we are getting close to that stage now where Schluter's going to do it, because that gap is now nearly 1.5 seconds after the battle.
Schluter's just hanging a bit by a thread. The only thing that's really assisted him for his lead is Reuben's DRS that he's given him. But yeah, it's gone a bit too wide through 1 and 2, and that was almost curtains for P2 for him. Again, that tyre compound difference is just amplified all the more here in the closing stages of the race. Again, looking for a pit stop very soon, I'm sure, for both Optimino and Schluter as well. And you can see that with Machete just weaving a bit, trying to close that gap between himself and his teammate.
Again, not sure what they're trying to communicate here with all this weaving about, but there must be something as they now come through the final corner. Reuben Machete not that far in front of Zolt Zooks, and there might be a challenge here, although looks like Zooks wants to stay behind, or does he? Gets close. Yes, he does. He backs away down into that first corner. Schluter didn't get DRS that time round, so nowhere near close enough to doing anything for second position. He's just sat in there watching the two teammates up in front at the moment. That was a change further down. Callis getting past Zingel as well, I think, for the moment. Sander Callis just over 30 seconds off the lead, probably still just too far away to be affecting this battle for the moment.
Yeah, it just needs to look through with Zingel getting the DRS though. Hopefully Callis will be able to pull away, because the last thing he needs is to be side by side in terms of his charge up for a potential podium here. But looks to be that he has cleared it, and Oldenegger now is next in his list.
Unfortunately, it's the traffic, the time you lose actually making the overtakes, that's the damaging part. No matter how he makes those overtakes, it's still going to be a time loss for him, which is not particularly ideal, as they now make their way into the or through the final sector to these three. How does Schluter maybe get in between these Optimino eSports drivers, because as they're 1 and 2, they can split strategies, they can do all sorts here, but it could be a whole lot different if Schluter gets in between them and maybe gets into the lead. Let's see here, as there's a bit more weaving around here. They're trying to coordinate pit entries, because it is a bit of an awkward one round here. We'll see, not for this lap anyway. Still a bit on the early side. What's Schluter going to do this time round? Zolt Zooks just up in front of him. He weaves to defend. Does Schluter have any interest in going through? No. So it looks like we are just holding the positions for now until maybe the pit stop window.
Still trying to hold back as much as possibly can. Sorry, David.
No, you're fine. All I was going to say was, I don't know why I think this, but it looks to me like Mark Schluter just at the moment has the raw pace. He can stay with them without too much trouble, and that for me is somebody who's biding their time and is going to grab some mediums and jump them. But I'm on the edge of my seat waiting for it to happen.
Yeah, we're waiting for that that trip down to pit lane now for one of these three. As soon as one of them does, it's going to get exciting. Tom Olemenga comes into pit lane for the final time this afternoon. That's a 3-stop strategy, which maybe hasn't quite worked out how he would have wanted. He'll be down to 9th as Lettinen gets past him. Oh, will he? Oh, close. Awkward pit exit here as it puts you straight onto the apex for turn 1. But he's going to go around the outside for the second part. Actually, keep 8th place. So there you go. Tom Olemenga will be in 8th. That'll be a decent return, I think, from his afternoon to go along with the 3rd place that he managed to get from Bahrain. This is Mark Schluter again on the back of Zotzux. Does he go for that undercut here and try something a little bit different? Keeps a bit wider, but no. You accelerate to the right-hand side sharply there if you come into the pit lane. Unusual pit entry here, but not this time round for any of them, and they continue on for at least another one yet. They're all stuck together, slipstreaming, drafting off of one another, and for the moment, playing that waiting game, trying to put the medium tyres on as late as possible.
Yeah, they really are. They're slowly, they are gently just within that medium window now, but the thing is, when undercutting for the mediums, we have seen people struggle with that compound, given that it has been a hot track. It has dropped just a few degrees, but I don't think it is going to be effective enough for people to try and do an undercut with the mediums and struggle with it. So that's the only problem that I can see with this. Callas has finally gotten past Zalo Yanis now, so he's up into 4th. So that means that he's done all the traffic and all the overtakes that he's now need to do now. So it's just going to be, unless of these three get close, it's just going to be open track for him there.
A couple of battles further down just to keep an eye on. By the way, Mancini just gets past Tucson because Tucson and Hanko are into the pit lane further down the back end of the field. So some of those positions down the top 10 are changing. Hanko, though, nowhere near anywhere near where he was earlier in the race. He was running up towards the top 5. Go along with his top 5 from the Bahrain Grand Prix, but doesn't look like that's going to happen here today for the moment, as Schluter just loses a little bit of time now onto this back straight. They're trying to break the slipstream, maybe the two optimal drivers, as they now come on to the front straight again. And is there going to be another positional change between Zux and Machete, a swapping of places? No, they don't decide to swap them, but they did put a couple of car limps into Schluter there. That was noticeable.
If you're Schluter, do you just bluff them? Because if you box for mediums, they are for sure going to have to box the next time round unless they're really disciplined and they've got a good engineer backing them up and saying, no, we're not in the window yet. If he can bluff them and make them all jump on the mediums, then they're all in the same boat.
14 laps to go at the end of this one, by the way. We are closing in on the final quarter of this one, and still we've yet to see the medium tyres used by most of these competitors up towards the front. Sander Callas has already used them. He's trying to take care of those hard tyres, because while he's been undercutting for a while, he does have still a very long way to go on them as well, and he wants to be in the lead of this race by the time these guys all pit. He was last time, wasn't able to put up much of a fight. But what about this time in the ground effect car? Into the long right-hander, turn 13 and 14 as well. Schluter a bit closer to Zotzux this time round. Zixu puts on the DRS here. Schluter does so as well. Down into the final corner. And what's going to happen here? Pit stops? No, not again. I think these guys are putting it off for as long as possible, and you know we might see some really late pit stops from some of them.
I think we will. Actually, there might be an overtake here. Yeah, there's a position change. Zolch goes down the inside of Ruben Machete to take the lead here in the Malaysian Grand Prix with just a handful of laps left to go. But yeah, a pit stop still due for those three. I think that does make a bit of sense, given that he is on the weaker compound. It allows for Reuven, who's on a much stronger, higher life than Zolt is, to defend from Mark. So I think it might have been a little bit too close for comfort for Zolt to fend off now. So I think that is a good call there.
Or are they putting Zolt in front so he can come into pit lane next time round and really fire into the pit entry? Because that's another problem that Schluter's got. If he wants to make one of these undercuts, he's got to actually slow down his pit entry to not hit the back of the other two, and that's not something that the two Optimal drivers are going to have to worry about.
Something I was about
to actually...
Go
sorry,
ahead.
go ahead. My bad. No, you go ahead. Sorry.
Something that I was about to predict has just happened. I was going to say Tom Oldenmenger is going to pick up another place because Cedric Bill hadn't pitted since lap 20. He'd run hards twice. And of course, he's just pitted for mediums, which has promoted Tom Oldenmenger up to 6th place.
Yeah, Oldenmenger running comfortably inside the top 10 as it stands. Now then, Schluter loses a couple of seconds, and oh, they're all in. No undercut from anybody. They're all into the pit lane together. 13 laps to go. The Malaysian Grand Prix is going to be decided right here in the next 13 laps, and with this, first of all, pit stop onto the medium tyres. Zooks, Machete and Schluter, the three best drivers from this race so far, all pull into pit lane now. Zooks pulls in early. He pitted in, and there you go. He has to just pull out there with Schluter stopping right in front of him. Machete will get out in between them as well. It's close between the three, but Schluter is not quite with the two teammates at the moment. Sander Callas nowhere near close enough. It's going to be between the two Optimal eSports drivers at this stage, because they have come out with a bit of an advantage over Schluter. Their in lap was a lot stronger.
Thing with Callas though is that if we've seen the fighting that we have seen from many laps ago, then he'll be the primary person in advantage for that. So he has done everything that he possibly can, so kudos to Callas for that. So 4 seconds away is not all that bad given the strategy that he was on, and now with it being on the hards as well, we've seen the mediums falling back very quickly in the closing stages, so actually he's in a pretty good advantage if they continue to fight.
Well, this is looking like another podium for Schluter, but perhaps not the race victory. Is it going to be Zooks or Machete? Two drivers who weren't in even the top 5 in the opening round of the season. Machete didn't even get to the end of the race. Hopefully he does on this occasion, but as you were saying earlier, David, Mark Schluter was looking strong. Can he produce some of that speed right now when he absolutely needs it here to get on terms with these two Optimal eSports drivers?
Yeah, well, I think it was an opportunity missed not to just go for that undercut and box before those guys did, because it's pretty much maintains the status quo by pitting the same as them. And Tom Oldenmenger has just picked up another spot because George Zalagianis had not pitted since lap 23. He's now pitted, promoting Tom into 5th place.
There goes Machete, change for the lead here with 12 laps to go, and Reuven Machete is at the front. Zook's now back to 2nd place. I reckon that's probably the right way round in terms of speed here, Amir, but they have very much welcomed Schluter back into the group again. You'd imagine next time they're down the DRS back straight and front straight, Schluter will be able to benefit from that DRS.
Thing is, if you're the pit wall behind Optimal, it's exactly the sort of overtakes that you need to look for. You don't want to prolong your fight with your teammates so much that Schluter and Callas will take advantage of it and close up. So the fact that Machete has got the move right down to turn 1 and let it stick is really, really good. And I think for Zolt, if he wants to try and bring it back, he'll have to do the same. Otherwise, they're just going to invite Mark into this. And as David said, by pure raw pace, he's probably the fastest one out there of these three, so he's going to be quite dangerous, but Optimal has the numbers advantage.
They do 2-on-1 in this battle at the moment. Go team Optimal eSports going at each other. The top 2 in the constructor standings, by the way. Fournier and Zooks, the best 2 scorers of Optimal. They got themselves 9 points less than Go Team managed. Schluter, one of those who was able to take the race victory at the Bahrain Grand Prix. Can he do another one here and do the 1-2 over Optimal eSports? Would be very impressive if he can. A lot of straight line speed there for Zooks. He's used a bit of energy there to stay in front this time round, but can he do that again and again for another 11 laps or so?
That's a good question. David?
Yeah, I don't know. Sorry. It gets down to those tiny little details of how well you set your car up, and did you do most of your setup laps on hards or mediums, or have you done something to just make these mediums work better for you? Intriguing, but we've certainly got a race on our hands. But the one thing I will say, if Ruben Meshidi manages to win, it would actually be quite fantastic, considering how competitive he was in Bahrain and before he had technical problems.
He was looking good in Bahrain, actually, and maybe putting himself into contention for the championship this season alongside Mark Schluter. I must say, after the first race, I was a bit sceptical about who could actually challenge the German this season. After the dominance, especially towards the end of that race that we saw, nobody really getting near him. Well, we've certainly got our answer here. We've got at least a couple of drivers who'll be there or thereabouts, and Sander Callas maybe on another day could have been as well. He's just fallen by the wayside in these last few moments. Unless these mediums really go away in the last 10 laps or so, he's not likely to be a feature anymore in this race-leading fight. What can Zooks do now then? Can Schluter break them apart? And that's going to be the first important thing here as far as getting this race win is concerned. He's got to break the teammates apart. Can he do it here towards turn one? Oh, three wide nearly. Wow, they blocked the road almost. The up 200 eSports drivers as Mercedes defends from his teammate. Now they're side by side, almost acting as a roadblock for Schluter here, who's now round the outside of turn two. He'll go through inside at free. Mercedes trying to give him slipstream. He might well lose the lead doing so as Schluter now gets to his outside on the way towards turn four. Can Zooks win it back? No. Schluter doesn't want to go round the outside there because he knows that will mean giving up second place, but he's done well now to get in the middle of these two.
That was super optimistic there from Schluter. Definitely wants to try to make the move as quickly as he can, and has done so against Zolt. But that was so close for comfort. Almost had been a nasty incident if it would have been three right down to turn one. But with Ruben trying to defend from Zolt from the lead, has ended up conceding his teammate that second position. So now Mark and Ruben are now in a duel for the lead.
They effectively are, but what can Zooks do to sort of get in between them again here? This is always going to be the problem you were talking about earlier on that Mark Schluter is going to have. It's that, yes, he is in second place. He's got the lead in sight, but he's got two teammates alongside him.
Yeah, absolutely, and now he's back in a similar position that he has been before a couple of laps ago, having to attack but also worrying about having to defend. That's the problem about being in this so-called optimal sandwich that he has been before. David?
Now if Ruben gets too cute and tries to keep Zolt and Zooks in the picture by making sure that he gets DRS from Mark Schluter, he's going to give Mark Schluter the opportunity to pass him. So it's a very fine balancing act that Ruben Meshidi's got to play if he wants to win this race.
Yeah, and I don't know if you saw it coming out of turn two, actually in towards turn three on the last lap. I think he was bordering on actually doing that and giving the lead away while trying to keep Zooks in second place. Eventually, he did get his priorities straight, and he got himself into a defensive position. But I think, you know, they maybe need to start worrying a little bit less about each other, actually, these two teammates. Start worrying about themselves and let this take care of itself, because coming out of turn two is not really a place you should be trying to gift slipstream to your teammates, try and keep somebody else behind.
Yeah, in that sequence of racing, Schluter did brilliantly, considering he was right out on the marbles there on turn two on the outside. I thought it was quite incredible that he maintained control. That was a brilliant piece of driving.
Into the final sector again. What is up Schluter's sleeve this time round? There was no move in towards turn one last lap. It wasn't even an attempt. Maybe they're just all recharging, ready to go again here in the second, on another lap, I should say. The eighth last lap of this race. 8 to go at the end of this one, and here they come across the line again. Schluter looking a little bit more dangerous this time. Mercedes certainly worried about him a little bit more as he weaves around, not to a defensive shape, but to break the slipstream, and it seems that that's worked. Zooks lost a bit of time as well, so I'd imagine he was definitely recharging as well. There'll be a lot of that tactical stuff going on at the moment, and waiting for the right moment here to try and take the lead.
Patiently waiting, abiding by your time here. Sepang definitely awards those that are the most patient, especially with the turns 1 and 2. We've seen it before. The more speed that you carry through, the more that move is going to stick. but also the more that you go side by side, the more that the tire wear is also being affected. And with Callas as well, just slowly starting to flatline that gap just a little bit. I think it's also another key factor that these three drivers need to consider, just a tiny bit. But I think Callas is just too far away now to even get a podium here at this chance. So it is really just what we're looking at here is the battle for the definite podium.
Yes, 10 seconds nearly to Sander Callas. They'd have to fight very, very hard indeed, and see the mediums go off quite significantly as well, which just doesn't seem like it is really going to happen. Medium tyres almost all round, actually, apart from those three drivers who started on the medium tyres. Everybody else has left it as late as possible to put those on and actually use them, because it feels like a bit of a punishment, really, to use the softer compound rather weirdly around this circuit rather than anything else. So you're just putting it off for as long as possible towards the end, it looks like, in this race anyway. Out of the final corner and over the line, Mark Schluter is close again and was trying not to go through in towards the final turn. What about turn one? Is he going to purposely go for it this time? Oh, quite late on the brakes. That was pretty close. Into the back of Ruben Mercedes, very nearly, but again, he can't make the move. He's still in second.
Yeah, Ruben trying to defend for the inside line down to turn one. I think he saw Mark trying to make that inside line through turn one. I think he knew it was in jeopardy. So very well response there by Ruben. Absolutely making that move and trying to hold it in. Still first for him, and Mark really applying the pressure onto the Optimal to try and take away their win.
It would be Optimal's first win of the season, of course. Oh, contact! Zalatianis and Zingel have made contact, battling for sixth position. They both get away without too much time loss, actually. Not as bad as it could have been, but didn't catch the start of that. It certainly caught the end of it. Zingel and Zalatianis were going side by side. Oh no! That's going off! Mercedes makes an error. A very rare error from Ruben Mercedes, who's driven so well this afternoon. He's just gone wide over the top of the hill there at turn 11. A costly error that puts Mark Schluter in the lead.
And that's dreadful because, mentioned before, it's so much tire wear evacuates onto the outer surface, and it's once you're in that, you just spin off so easily. It's a poor lapse of judgment for Ruben, and he has paid dearly, lost the lead, and it's going to be quite a big ask for him to get back up into this fight here. So now it's going to be down to Zolt to try and see if he can maybe push him up a bit, but Mark has gotten the lead in the closing stages of the race.
Well, 6 laps to go, and he now holds the lead again. But the big question for me at the moment, David, is going to be what can Ruben Mercedes do with those tyres? Because, as Amir points out, when you slide like that, you put a lot of heat through the medium tyres, and it's difficult to get those temperatures back down again. And Sander Callas is not all that far behind.
Well, especially when you consider how tightly grouped these three leaders have been all afternoon. We've had 50 laps where none of the three have really made any mistakes, and their pace has been very, very similar. And for much of it, Mark Schluter has been in dirty air. And this was one of the things I was pondering about the undercut. That would have at least given him clean air and better tyre life. So now that he's got his nose out in front and he's got some nice clean air to push through, he should have the advantage. And yeah, as you've suggested, Mercedes now, after that slide, will have just taken the edge off. It's going to be very difficult for him to get back in touch.
Fastest in second sector, but Zolt is actually falling the back 0.3 slower through that second sector. So Ruben is trying to put up everything they possibly can. Zolt is falling just a back behind, but at least he'll have the DRS advantage for the third and first sector to try and keep the pressure on.
Yeah, the key thing about is breaking the slipstream here. If he can do that at any stage, Mark Schluter, then he can be out front and he could be winning this race for the second round in a row. Zooks now gets into the DRS, gets into the slipstream, and that brings him closer again. He'll be using a bit of energy to get there as well here as Zooks closes in. How can he get through there? If that's all he's going to be doing, using that to catch back up again, how is he ever going to make the pass? This could be quite difficult now. A very difficult moment here for Zooks, trying to get this lead away for Optimal eSports. Mark Schluter leading at the crucial moment now, and he's got the pace to go with it by the looks of things as well.
Just needs to tie down behind Schulter as much as he possibly can. It's very difficult to overtake here with all the dirty air, but at least he has that DRS advantage. So turn 1 and 2 is definitely going to be the best chance that Zolt can possibly get to try and take the lead again. But is it too much of an ask? Because Mark has done very good on pace-wise, especially through the second and third sector on those turns. So it's going to be very difficult to determine who's going to be a victor here.
We've not seen, by the way, we've not seen a driver in the Formula Sim Racing World Championship win the first 2 races of a season since 2021, by the way. Years ago, when Michi Hoyer took the first 3 races of the season in a row, was absolutely dominant at the start of 2021, but not since then has the driver who won the first race of the season also won the second, and Mark Schluter looking very, very strong right now to do that. Ruben Mercedes has certainly lost the pace in those tyres. The gap's ballooned to now nearly 4 seconds. Last time round, Schluter and Zux were both in the 33.6s. Mercedes did a 34.5. That is the slowest time in the top 7 from him, and that says everything you need to know about what's happened to those tyres.
With the spin that has happened and with how delicate you need to treat these medium tires, it is actually no wonder that he's lost so much time. So for him, it's just a matter of trying to get it and bring it home. But at least by finishing 3rd, it'll bring Optimal major points haul that they'll need for the Constructors' Championship. But for now, it's up to Zolt now to see if he can try and get Optimal their first win in the World Championship.
Can Zux do it? He has got experience in the World Championship, has Zolt Zux. He's starting his 30th race this afternoon. He's never finished better than 6th, though, in any individual race. It's a big, big chance for him here today to take a very, very big step in his championship. He's only done a full season on one occasion, or a couple of occasions rather, in 2022, 2023 as well, but 16th and 20th in points at the end of those seasons. He's never been fighting up towards the front like this in a race, fighting for a race win, but with 3 laps to go, he's absolutely there. And this is the closest he's been since Ruben Mercedes had that spin off into the gravel through turn 11. Zux close. Does he take this as an opportunity down the inside at turn 1? Not quite on this occasion. Don't know whether he thought he was just too far back or why he backed out of it, but he feels there'll be a better opportunity to come in the last few laps.
Applying pressure to Schluter, I think, is the important thing. That's all, is trying to make a statement here. Trying to make sure that his lead is not very comfortable, that saying, hello, I'm on the backside and I'll be forcing you, forcing around your rear wing for the next few laps, so don't get too comfortable. David?
Yeah, a bit of a kick of oversteer then from Zolt and Zux exiting turn 4. And I was just a bit surprised too that he seemed, for a man who was pretty bold with his defensive shapes a few laps ago, that he was fairly conservative there when he was on the attack into turn 1.
I wonder whether that's because he's biding time or what that's for.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering as well, because 2 DRS straights, if he's just going to get ahead, you really want to do it later rather than earlier, because if you're going to do it now and take the lead, will allow for Mark, that has been phenomenal throughout the rest of the track, to now get the advantage on the closing stages. So I think he is just starting to hold back, but he will make a move, I think, fairly soon.
Well, he's going to be going on to the penultimate lap next time round, so can't afford to wait too long. This is going to be very, very close, evoking memories of all those years ago when, I think 2019, when we were here, the Malaysian Grand Prix had a very, very close finish. Back then, that was the season opener. This is round number 2 of the 2025 World Championship season, and if it's going to be into turn 1, Zolt Zux is waiting for the last lap. Again, he's not able to do it, or is he? Not able to, or doesn't want to, until very late on in this race?
I think it could be the latter here, to be honest with you. And I don't blame him one bit, especially with how well Schluter has been in terms of attacking. He's done very well and make those overtakes stick for turn 1. So he is definitely, I believe, going to try and hold it in to 1 lap. It is desperation, but it is a strategic desperation indeed for the Optimal driver.
It's not got his teammate anymore. Ruben Mercedes has fallen by the wayside. He will finish 3rd. and he'll get on the podium at least, but it's going to be Schluter or Zooks to win this race. You'd think, anyway, based on what we're seeing at the moment. 1 lap to go at the end of this one. It's impossible to know which way it's going to go, or indeed how Zooks is going to attempt this move as well.
Schluter is amazing off this corner.
Yeah, that's actually a good point as well. He's been phenomenal for the second sector. The thing that has been biding him time is he is better at the second sector than anyone else on the medium runners, and that, I think, has been allowing him to hold on to this lead. He goes a little bit wide through the last corner. I might be over him.
It might be a chance. White flag waves. Final lap of the Malaysian Grand Prix in 2025, and Zooks has got to go for it now. Down the inside, not quite. Schluter closes the door on him again here, and Zooks is not able to do it here. We thought he was biding his time, but was he just not able to make the move? There's a big slide out of turn 2 as well. Is it falling away for him here? Is Schluter now going to be able to use that speed through the middle sector to confirm another race victory here? He's looking comfortable into the second sector on the last lap. He might well just do this.
Zooks is just pulling away drastically now, looking for the second sector. Yeah, Mark is pulling away. I think it's his race to lose here.
Certainly looks like it. Although Zooks is going to throw everything at this. Forget about the tyre life, forget about the longevity of the tyres, just throw everything at this now. He's got to get a good exit though, as we were just commenting, through turn 14. No. He's been very, very strong, Schluter, and so it's going to be very hard for Zooks to actually get on terms in time for the final corner. He doesn't get another trip in towards turn 1 again. It's got to be into the final turn as they now come through that final sector. This is the all-important corner. He's 5 tenths behind. Can Zooks get the exit here? He's up over the curb. Schluter, bang, on the power. Surely that's going to be enough for him now, as he's got 6 tenths of a second. Zooks is going to throw everything at this. He might even give it a lunge on the way to the final turn. He gives it a weave at least, but he's not going to be close enough to make a move there. It's going to be Mark Schluter, who becomes the first driver in 4 years to win the first 2 races back-to-back in the Formula SimRacing World Championship. He wins the Malaysian Grand Prix in 2025 in a grandstand finish with Zooks, and Ruben Mercedes is going to spin out of the final corner again, and he will finish 3rd.
Incredible. Once again, the German national anthem will blast through Asia as Schluter becomes the first driver in, I think he said since 2021 in Michi Hoyer, to win 2 races, and he's done so in the opener in dramatic fashion. Probably one of his most hardest fought wins that he's had so far this season, and it's still only race 2.
Yeah, it's been 4 years since the first 2 races have been won by the same driver, and Mark Schluter is that driver in 2025. Zooks gets his best ever finish in the World Championship with 2nd, as does Ruben Mercedes, who will both be on the podium this afternoon. As further behind, we haven't focused too much on the rear end of the field in the last few laps because of what's been going on at the front, but this is the battle for 11th place and some points on the line here. That Tucson looks like he's going to get through on Lattinen, and he does just about into the final corner. A close finish for those 3 as they come across the line now as well. Tucson will be pleased with 11th position on his World Championship debut here at the Malaysian Grand Prix, and that is all of the finishes here, 14 of them this time around. But it's Mark Schluter who takes the victory in a dramatic finish with Zooks. We'll get the results up for you in a moment. Just a few tenths of a second between them at the line. There they are, 1st and 2nd. Optimino on the podium with 2 and 3 though. Ruben Mercedes gets onto the bottom step. Sander Callas, 4th place, an improvement on his Bahrain finish, 6th position on that occasion. Tom Oldemanger is in the top 5 for the 2nd race in a row with Isvan Zingel in 6th. George Zagianis, 7th, and Cedric Bilt with Mirko Mancini and Patrick Hanko rounding out the top 10. 11th place went to Matt Tucson, as we just saw get past Jesse Lattinen, just finished ahead of Nando Marsa. Lucas Fiscott was the only driver 1 lap down. Jeffrey Fournier and Peter Knapp both retired from the race. Well, what a grandstand finish that was, Amir. We always expected it was going to be. I did think Zooks was just waiting actually for the last lap rather than not able to get through, but maybe it appears with hindsight he was actually struggling to get alongside and through there.
I think he did, and you can tell from the the amount of like snap oversteer that David was explaining, I think that really was his last chance as well, because he just seemed to struggle so much coming out of the exit of turn 2 to try and hold on to Mark's slipstream. And because it didn't work for the for the first quarter, I think it was all she wrote. And well, for Mark, what can you say? It's been very phenomenal. Done really well in Bahrain, defend against Reuven in the early stages. Of this time he has to do it against 2 optimal cars, and pretty much throughout the entire race, he didn't need to lead alone, but he'll be very happy with that. The German, definitely a well-deserved win here.
Absolutely. Let's have a chat now to third place driver Reuven Machedi. I can't actually move him about, so and Ed's not here, so maybe we can't actually move people about to interview here, unless David's got the role to do that. I certainly don't. That was.
I'll try.
We'll try, because otherwise we unfortunately won't be able to chat to Reuven Machedi. We should have really fixed the roles after last time, but I forgot, that's my fault. I forgot to do that. In the meantime, there is the calendar upcoming for 2025. The community vote is next in 4 weeks' time, in the 20th of July. I'm not sure if that has actually closed yet, but if you haven't voted, then do so in the forums. I'm not sure we can announce the winner of the community vote yet or not, but and I certainly don't know the winner.
Not yet.
No, we can't. So we can't announce that. But that will all be to come, of course, in 4 weeks' time. Followed after that by Austria, Great Britain, Belgium, Singapore, USA, Japan, and Mexico to round off the season in 2025. Let's chat to Reuven Machedi, though, who has finished in third place in tonight's Malaysian Grand Prix. Congratulations, Reuven, on your first podium of the season, first of all. But first of all, how are you feeling at the end of that race?
Well, it's quite warm here, 30 degrees or something now, like 25, so I'm sweating like hell. Yeah, the race, well, the first 2 stands were brilliantly managed, good drives. In the finals, I struggled so a lot with the medium, and then did also 2 mistakes. The one that potentially costed me the race win today. I think I had much more potential in it, but then, yeah, also, I don't know what it was with me and final corners, but I also in GPV Superlights I spun on the final corner, final lap, and now I did the same in Malaysia. So yeah, I don't know.
These things happen. I want to go back to the spin. Unfortunately, I think, well, not quite a spin, but sort of half spin, a moment for you at turn 11 that really seemed to spark the end. Just tell us about how the car was actually handling up to that point, and then the spinning towards turn 11, and then what that ended up doing to your tyres for the rest of the race.
Well, I was just tire savings because I knew that it's either gonna be this way that Mark's gonna tire on the last lap. So I didn't was pushing, I just lost concentration for a brief moment and drove on the curb, and that's it basically. And the tire was doomed after that, as it's overheat and my wheels were gone from there.
Yeah, it's understandable, but nevertheless, a first podium of the season for you. How encouraged are you, just quickly before we let you go, about this performance in terms of speed? How encouraged are you for the rest of the season that you were able to stay with the front guys for almost the whole of the race?
Yeah, I'm quite positive. I didn't do much practice for this, as I had other priorities for me, as school, as just life in general. So I'm quite happy with that too. And in practice, I struggled a lot with the setup to get the laps in. But yeah, in quali, I improved my personal best by a bit, and also for the race, I was so much more consistent.
Well, congratulations, Reuven, on third place tonight, and thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us after the race as well.
No worries. Enjoy the rest of the interviews.
Thanks very much, Reuven Machedi, third place here tonight from the Malaysian Grand Prix. Just in behind Mark Suter, who is now able to join us, the race winner for the second round in a row. Congratulations, Mark, on a very, very hard-fought Malaysian Grand Prix victory. You must be very pleased and relieved at the end of that race.
Yeah, very, very much. The Optinra guys gave me a run for my money this time. Wasn't that easy like last time, so was quite fun.
what does this say for the rest of the season, do you think? That, Zotzux and Ruben Machete were both there. Sander Callis was up there at times. There were others with pit strategy who were leading this race at times. What do you think it says for the rest of the season and what we've got in prospect in 2025?
Well, we'll have to see. Kind of hope Sander keeps it up and maybe make it a four-way fight for the win next time. Because I think that would be very good for the competition and for the spectators.
Absolutely. Well, we look forward to seeing it, of course, when we take on our next race in 4 weeks' time. But for now, Mark, thanks very much for coming to have a chat with us. Congratulations on the race win and becoming the first driver, by the way, in 4 years to win the first 2 races of an FSR World Championship season. So congratulations on that, and we'll see you in 4 weeks' time.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks very much. Mark Suter there, the race winner from the Malaysian Grand Prix. Now, we can, in a moment, by the way, just announce the winner of the community vote, and I will do that just as we end the stream here tonight. But first of all, final thoughts, Amir, David, on the Malaysian Grand Prix. What a fantastic finish that was, and a great race as well in the second round of the championship this season.
Yeah, from my side, I thought it was an outstandingly high performance level from all the top 3. And as Mark Schluter just alluded, I mean, Sander Callis was only just probably 1% off being right there with them. So, but yeah, fabulous performance levels, and just one little mistake was all it took to separate somebody from the podium or separate somebody from the win. So, yeah, fantastic driving. Very respectful driving too. I mean, those guys were so close together for so long without any contact. Yeah, magnificent. Very impressed.
Amir?
I mean, like this race here has shown to pretty much everyone throughout the audience what FSR racing can be at its truest and finest. Also showcases why Sepang is one of the best racing venues in the world, and why have we've been here 19 times. Marks the end of the closure though for our trip into Asia though, which is a little bit disappointing and a bit of sad, but considering that we've seen 2 absolute Tilka classics, it means that now for the next few circuits we're going to be going to, I believe, the community vote was always a street circuit, and then we're going to be going through 3 old-timer circuits in, I believe it is Silverstone that starts it off.
Yeah, Silverstone's in there, Spa's in there, the Red Bull Ring as well. So a bit of a European leg to come at that stage. However, it's time for the. Well, let's see. I'll get to that in a moment. Right, it's time for the championship standings. First of all, as I say, Mark Suter wins the first 2 races for the first time in 4 years, and he takes a big championship lead, 19 points over Oates, who rockets up to second. Tom Aldermenger is still third, although he finished 5th today. Sander Callis is up to 4th. Jeffrey Fournier, DNF'd, so dropped down. Patrick Hanko as well drops down to 6th position. Ruben Machete is on the board finally, and it gets up to 7th place. George Zardianis up to 8th. Giuseppe Saracino wasn't here today, unfortunately. He was driving the 24 Hours Le Mans earlier, so that might have affected him. Mika Mancini rounds out the top 10 as well on 12 points. Still very, very open, but still very clear that Mark Schluter is the championship leader, and it's going to be hard to take it off him in 2025. That is for certain. In terms of the community vote, we've had that vote throughout the or on the forums rather, throughout the last few weeks. And we can now reveal, as Amir just said, one of the street circuits has now taken the victory. The least popular of the circuits that's not going to be used is the Jeddah Corniche circuit. That got least percentage of the vote. The Montreal circuit got second least. And so it's going to be Melbourne, Australia for our third round of the season, a community voted circuit. So we will be going there for the second year in a row to the Albert Park Street Circuit. The Australian Grand Prix will be our community voted racetrack. There it is. 4 weeks' time, we'll be live with Pro and World Championship racing on Sunday, the 20th of July. Very much hope you can join us for that then. I've been Neil O'Leary alongside Amir Oates and David O'Reilly in the commentary box. Peter Schooneman has been behind the cameras of this broadcast here this afternoon. A big thanks to everyone who's been tuned in. We look forward to seeing you again in 4 weeks' time in Australia. But from all of us for now, it's goodbye.